Welcome, Emily. Thank you for coming up.
Yeah, thank you. There was a bit of a delay, so I'm just catching you now. Thank you for having me up, Theo. Hi, Alex and Sam, John. So I, yeah, I am new to the blockchain. There's stuff I know. There's you guys have explained a lot of things. My question would be really even more basic. Thank you for your patience for my basic question, and here it is. Why stake at all? Like, I understand the rewards process. That could be a direct what's in it for me, but what's in it for you is my questions. Like, why offer this as a service? What are the benefits all around?
That's a great question. See, that was such a good question. And it really is about keeping the platform secure. Put in simplest words. But Alex, I'll let you take over.
Yeah, no, I mean, I welcome all questions, and believe it or not, that sometimes the simplest questions challenge our understanding of how to answer something simply as well, because we kind of tend to over-engineer these things in the space. But why stake at all? So there's obviously the economic rewards portion of like, okay, well, if I own MVN and I stake it and I delegate, then I earn. That's easy, right? You own something, it pays you, done, right? That's from the user perspective. From why we built it this way, there's a couple reasons why we decided to design the MVN token or the DAO in this capacity where it works in tandem with the MVN token. And one of them is, well, for starters, we needed a way to secure the decentralized Oracle. Because if you look at Chainlink and the way that they do oracles, it's actually run on a multi-sig. So it's actually not that secure. There are different price feeds that come in and it aggregates those price feeds, but theoretically speaking, it's run by a multi-sig. And we needed a way to decentralize that element. And so by having a token that that represents the it doesn't represent the voting weight necessarily. It represents the payout weights, but um, you cannot run a satellite without having MVN, and you get paid according to how much MVN is delegated to you. So it adds a layer of additional security to the element of a decentralized Oracle, where on Chainlink it's a multi-sig, on Maven Finance it is actually decentralized. It's operated by a DAO. So that's another element. Separately, obviously, from the economic perspective, when you have these tokens locked in a smart contract, they're not trading, which does several things. Well, for starters, you can gauge interest in the DAO. Secondly, it adds a layer of participation from ecosystem members, both satellites and those who want to contribute to the DAO. Um, and thirdly, obviously, you know how economics works with less of something in circulation. Um, Thirdly, or I don't even know what number I'm on yet, but um, there being a full DAO, there's a lot of elements in blockchain that are romantic, like, oh, everybody gets to vote and everybody gets a voice. Um, and it's cute and it's fun and it's nice, but there are a lot of times when really people don't, let's say, use or utilize their ability to make a change or to have a voice. We see that in US elections with the voter turnouts to be really low. We see that in blockchain where people want to own a token from an economic perspective, but they don't actually want to vote. And so by having these tokens locked and off the market and staked, ensure that these stakeholders can not just buy your token for the sake of earning, but that they lock that token, it's secured off to the side, and that they delegate their voting rights to somebody else who will vote on their behalf. So, you get a lot of times when people are too busy, people forget, there might be a lot of votes, there might be not many votes, and they can actually actively contribute, not just by buying and holding this thing because, okay, it's liquid, you own it, maybe your voting rights get delegated in a liquid way. But unfortunately, we've seen in blockchain that there's really not a lot of participation that way. And so when you lock your tokens and delegate them to somebody else to vote for you, and you get paid for that, there tends to be a higher participation rate from the from the representative democratic, let's say, well, the elected representative in that sense. So that's really there's a multitude of reasons of why doing it this way.
I love that, Theo. If I can just basically respond. Alex, thank you for being so thorough. You've hit at many aspects of why stake, and one that I was actually personally after, which was the scarcity effect, right? To create scarcity to, and I might be incorrect here, but to at least protect the value of the token, so it's not there's not too many. I don't know. I'm explaining myself very simply. Is just that I in the discourse that I've been in and in the conversations that I've been able to listen to where staking was offered or explained, it was really from the perspective of what's in it for the holder. And for me, I guess I want to know, but I mean, like, nobody does anything for nothing. Like, I thank you for the benefits, but why are you doing it? Certainly it needs to be more profitable for you than for me, right? Because even if it's a DAO, well, maybe I'm incorrect here, and that's a jaded part of myself. It needs
You're
to be
no,
more.
you're spot on, and I work exactly the same way, Emily. It's why me and Alex get along. Alex operates very much that way as well, and yeah, it does help ease the sell pressure, right? Because people would rather hold their tokens, delegate, or stake. Hopefully,
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Well, exactly, Theo. And I'm going to end in with this is that the participation aspect of it that also made a whole lot of sense because you're right, right? And it's a like I guess the teacher in me is like, oh, that's very clever to make sure to bring to change the habits, right? To bring a new habit of participation and does go a little beyond and just like having something that is maybe more fair economically, but changed actual behavior. So yeah, basically, I appreciate your answer, Alex, and I'm done.
Of of course. I mean, there's a couple things that you touched upon there that I'd like to elaborate on. So for starters, I mean, everybody thinks like, oh, we're locking the token off the market, and therefore the price should go up. But that's not. That there's an element of like tokenomics, where literally it's called token and economics mashed up into one word. There's an element of that in there for every chain that does some form of locked staking, right? Or every platform that does locked staking. But it's also from a build perspective, it's also a lot easier to have these tokens that are staked that don't move and they're not liquid, moving from one person to another, being put into a DEX, being put into lending, they're putting into borrowing, they're putting into trading, they're putting onto a centralized
oh,
exchange.
Alex here. Emily, can you hear him? I can't hear him.
Oh,
Oh yeah, you're
hello.
good, Alex. Too. I can hear you loud and
Oh,
clear. Yeah,
Oh, okay. So it's
perfect.
just me. Great.
Alex.
So
That's perfect.
it actually makes it well, now Theo can't hear me. Theo, I heard you, but it actually makes it a lot easier to build a system where the tokens are locked and you can understand who owns what, who's delegated where, and it's not actively trading or being transferred. Now, once your tokens are staked, you can delegate them to a satellite with no extra fee outside of like your standard network transaction fee. There's no added fee from the DAO to change satellites at any moment. Um, but again, it's like having this like constant um, single source of truth to understanding who owns what and who delegated the voting rights where. And so that's another element of why we chose to create this locked staking mechanism. And secondly, you touched upon something where everybody's talking about staking and how you can earn. And unfortunately, most people don't realize it's like, oh, well, you you stake these tokens, and in the beginning, sure, it's from either from inflation, which we don't have. It's capped at 1 billion tokens, and then only once it reaches like 80 or 90% of the token supply is circulating, then the DAO can vote to have inflation or not. It's up to the DAO's decision. It's not up to us. Um, but what some people don't realize is okay in the outset, the staking rewards are artificially produced by having like this group of tokens on the side to pay stakers. But then what happens when those tokens run out? So with everything, again, as I've mentioned, Maven Finance, when we launch it, the Mavryk Dynamics team does not control Maven Finance. We don't control upgrades. We don't control the oracles. We don't control the lending. We don't control the borrowing, as opposed to most other decentralized applications, which are decentralized in name for the most part. They launched the lending. You have a V1 and then they launch a V2 and everyone has to migrate their their assets over to the V2. You don't get that with Maven because the DAO can upgrade itself via governance. The whole governance model is built that way. And all the satellites get to vote on it. But more so that once you run out of those tokens for staking, where it's this artificial yield, so to say, how do you get yield for staking? There has to be some form of, it's either inflation or from profits or from wherever. So as mentioned, repeat it again, unfortunately. So Maven Finance is a full DAO through and through. Once we launch it, we don't control it. And that includes the treasury as well. If our team wants to get paid by the DAO for our contributions to the DAO, the satellites have to vote on it. We don't just unilaterally get paid and then hopefully contribute something to a treasury. No, the treasury has to actually vote to pay us or another dev team. And so as that treasury fills up with profits, it can buy MVN off the open market in order to do several things. One, replenish the treasuries used for paying the satellites for their work, because they get paid in MVN for contributing to a decentralized Oracle. And two, well, I guess this treasuries can, we have got treasuries for investments and treasuries for governance. We have a bunch of different sub treasuries, different conversation, different space. But two, so as we run out of the initial MVN to pay stakeholders, the treasury can buy MVN off the open market, and then pay the people who are contributing to the DAO. So how are you going to then know who's contributing to the DAO? Is it just the satellites? Is it all the token holders who have liquid in circulation, liquid tokens in circulation that are delegating? Or is it the people who have staked their tokens, locked them off of the market? There's no time lock, by the way. You can unstake at any time. I'll get to that in a moment. But so the DAO will buy the treasury, reset. Satellites can buy MVN off the open market, replenish the treasury for paying for paying satellites and their delegates, and then we want to pay people that were active in participating in the DAO. And so by staking, we give the platform an easier mechanism for understanding who is actively contributing to the operations of this fully decentralized DAO, and who might just own it for the sake of owning a token on a DEX. They can freely trade it on the DEX, but they're not going to be receiving rewards. So there is this supply and demand situation that occurs with all lock staking, but there's also this: how do we repay people who contribute once the initial tokens wear off, like when we're doing it off of profits, once the DAO is doing it off of profits? And that locked staking mechanism is a very simple cut way to do it.
That's brilliant. And one last thing, multi-sig is multi-signatures. That means that people who have the right to kind of sign off on transactions, right?
Basically, yeah. I mean, you can have let's say a 5 signature multi-sig. So you'd have 5 people, or one person holding all 5 keys, but it's essentially meaning that you've got 5 keys or 5 people that would need to sign off on something in order to make a transaction occur. So it could be a 3 of 5, meaning you need 3 people out of 5 or 3 keys out of 5. But again, one person, and we've seen this on multiple quote unquote decentralized applications where it's like, oh, we've got 7 signers for our multi-sig and we need 5 out of 7, but one guy's got 4 keys and his buddy's got the other 3. So, or 2 in that case. But so when you decentralize it by having these satellites, as long as you stake MVN up to a certain amount, we haven't released the number yet. We were playing with that, but as long as you stake MVN, and you can run your own satellite. And so there is slight satellite governance, but it's negligible. But there's no okay, we're going to keep all the keys for ourselves and we're decentralized in name. No, we're decentralized by nature.
That's wonderful. I yield the mic, but yes, I love it. Thank you so much.